Good morning all. Today's my topic of presentation is encephalitis. So basically what do you mean by encephalitis? Encephalon means related to brain and itis means that is inflammation and infection. Alright. So first of all what we are going to study is what do you mean by encephalitis. Alright. So what should be the objectives for this topic is that definition of, to define this topic, to explain the types of encephalitis, to enlist factors and etiology, to explain the clinical manifestation, the diagnostic evaluation, to explain the management and prevention of the encephalitis. It is a very rare condition and yet a serious condition that can be a life-threatening, and it is commonly caused by the viral infections, and as I told you that it is an inflammation inside the brain and inflammation of the brain tissues which leads to infection, and it can be caused by bacteria or even fungi, right? So what should be the definition? It is normally encephalitis, that is inflammation of the brain tissue. There are two types of encephalitis. One is primary encephalitis, second one is secondary encephalitis. In primary encephalitis, it occurs when the virus directly infects the brain or invades the brain and the spinal cord. Alright, so in primary condition what will happen? Directly the virus or the bacteria will enter into the brain or the spinal cord, and which will cause encephalitis. And in secondary, it occurs when the infection start from elsewhere, like if the patient is having any other disease condition due to which it's from elsewhere in the body and then transfers to your brain. Alright, the infection starts from another body part. So it starts from another infection start from another body part, and slowly it travels to your brain. That is known as secondary encephalitis. What should be the risk factors for this? In older adults, encephalitis occurs because their immunity is low, so they are more prone to the infection. Next one is children under the age of 1 year, people with weak immune system. What should be the etiology? Etiological factors are like two types, first one is primary encephalitis and secondary encephalitis. In primary encephalitis, I told you that it is done by the common virus or herpes simplex virus, or Bar virus, or the childhood virus including the measles and mumps. It can also be spread by the mosquitoes, ticks and other insects, including the Japanese encephalitis and tick-borne encephalitis. In the secondary one, it could be caused by the complication of any kind of viral infection. If the patient is having a viral infection, so there are certain chances so that the patient is having the encephalitis, secondary encephalitis as well. Alright. What will be the clinical manifestation? As the infection is there in our body or in the brain, definitely it is going to have a fever, headache, vomiting, stiff neck, lethargy, confusion state, drowsiness, episodes of hallucination, slow movements, coma, seizure, irritability, sensitivity to light, or unconsciousness. Unconsciousness lead in those patients who are in the severe encephalitis, like the patient is suffering from many days or months, then the patient will have the unconsciousness as well. Alright. What should be the pathophysiology for that? Like if any kind of brain enters to our body, so there will be an inflammation. There will be an inflammation where the necrosis and degeneration of the neuron occurs, due to which there will be a perivascular tissue necrosis, and there will be a demyelination of the neurons, due to which the glial protein, that is a type of infecting agent that occurs and leads to demyelination and the destruction and cerebral cortical involvement, due to which the encephalitis occurs. Or in the case of rabies or herpes simplex infection, specific inclusions are identified. Alright, so some of the pathological changes are found in malaria as well, in falciparum malaria, right? What will be the diagnostic evaluation? In the diagnostic evaluation, as I told you that like there will be physical history taking and physical examination. So in the history taking, we have to assess the history, like if there is any kind of surgery happened to that patient, or a past medical history, or is there any kind of craniotomy done, or is he suffered from any accident so that his brain was involved, because these all the clues will lead to the encephalitis, from which the virus or bacteria can be drawn. All right. Or might be the patient will have some kind of another disease or secondary disease like liver infection, so might be from that virus will go inside the brain and cause encephalitis as well. All right. Then CSF studies help to differentiate the condition from the meningitis, because when we draw the CSF or we will draw the CSF, we will study it, we will send it to lab, and then we will differentiate the bacteria whether it is encephalitis or whether it is meningitis. All right. Blood examination for sugar, urea, electrolytes and metabolic products are we have to do. Urine examination we have to do. Toxicological study we have to do, virological studies we have to do, CT scan or electroencephalogram we have to do, alright, to study or to diagnose a disease condition. What should be the complication? There are so many of complications in this disease condition, because the patient will have the loss of memory or personality changes will, because the brain is involved, and if the brain is involved, there can be an chances of death as well. All right. Though fatigueness will be there, lack of muscle coordination, visual problem will be there, hearing problems will be there, speaking issues or coma or difficulty in breathing will be. As the infection increases, these symptoms will show more in the patient. What will be the management? In the medical management, we have the pharmacological management, that is, that if there is an infection, we have to go for the antibiotic, and if there will be an infection or this one, fever will be, if there is an infection there will be fever, and if fever will be there, we have to go for the antipyretics. All right. And that this disease is caused by a virus or a bacteria as well. So for the viral we go for antiviral drugs, and for bacterial we go for antibacterial drugs. So some of the anti-inflammatory drugs are acetaminophen, ibuprofen or naproxen. Then these are all the medicine which are used to relieve the headache or PCM we can prescribe to the patient. Then antiviral drugs means which are caused by the viruses, so the virus to be eradicated, that is from the Zovirax or the cytovir, that is acyclovir and the ganciclovir we have to give to the patient. Mannitol or glycerol may be given, because if there is an infection in the brain, there will be an inflammation, and inflammation will be there, to definitely there will be an increased ICP or increased intracranial pressure due to the inflammation inside the brain. So we can give the mannitol and glycerol to the patient. Anti-inflammatory drugs or corticosteroids we have to give, like dexamethasone or hydrocortisone 100 mg, or antibiotics we have to give to the patient. Vitamin and mineral supplement we have to give. IV fluids we have to prescribe to the patient, and dopamine is to be given so that the shock is to be treated, and fluid and electrolyte balance is to be maintained. Patient, due to the increase in ICP, there will be sudden discharge or increase in discharge of the brain. So we have to provide the anticonvulsive drugs so that the convulsions should be cured. Then non-pharmacological management. Oxygenation is to be provided by the nasal cannula, because might be the patient is having more oxygen requirement and he is not able to fulfill it, then we have to start from the oxygenation. Mechanical ventilation is also required if there is an cardiac insufficiency or cardiorespiratory insufficiency, or the cardiac is not able to pump so much of blood, so that if in aged patient as well, in the aged patient the blood is not able to pump out, then what we are going to do, we have to go for the ventilatory support as well. Now the nursing management. In nursing management, first comes the assessment. So how we are going to assess? So first obtain a history of recent infection, such as do you have any kind of upper respiratory tract infection, or do you have any exposure to the causative agents? Assess their neurological status and the vital signs. Evaluate for the signs of meningeal irritation. Assess that is there any hearing loss or vision loss, or is there any facial or nerve palsy. So it will include that there will be a cranial nerve damage. All right, if the cranial nerve is damaged, then definitely so that symptom will appear. All right. Ineffective tissue perfusion related to infectious process and cerebral edema, risk of imbalanced fluid volume related to fever and decreased intake, hypothermia related to infectious process and cerebral edema, acute pain related to meningeal irritation, impaired physical mobility related to prolonged bed rest. What are their goals? It is to enhance the cerebral tissue perfusion, to maintain the fluid balance, to reduce the fever, to reduce the pain, to reduce the optimal level of functioning and mobility. So interventions. Alright, what do we have? Enhancing the cerebral perfusion. Assess the loss of consciousness. Vital sign we have to monitor because the patient might be in ICU. Alright, or for example, decreased in loss of consciousness, dilated pupils, or widening pulse pressure. We have to check or we have to see. Then maintain a cool and calm environment, not a cool but a quiet and calm environment to prevent the agitation which may cause or which may lead to increase in ICP. Prepare the patient for the lumbar puncture. All right, and CSF evaluation. Repeat spinal tap if indicated, or LP, typically the preceding neuroimaging for the preceding, or if the CSF is to be sent by the, whether it is meningeal or is it viral or bacterial, we have to send the ICP. Then notify the healthcare provider of sign of deterioration. If there is a patient is deteriorating, we have to notify it to the healthcare provider or the doctor. We have to notify during the increase in temperature, decrease in LOC, seizure activity, or altered respirational status. Maintain the fluid and electrolyte balance. Prevent IV fluid overload, which may worsen the cerebral, because in this fluid and electrolyte balance is to be maintained. If we'll continuously go for this IV overload, then IV fluid, then the patient firstly is having the CSF increase ICP, then from the fluid it will also increase. So we have to monitor it. Monitor the intake and output capacity of the patient. The CVP line is to be frequently measured or monitored. Osmotic diuretic administration is to be done. Now for reducing fever, administer microbial agents to maintain the optimal blood level. Then we have to continuously administer the antibiotics as ordered. Institute their cooling measures such as hypothermia blanket or whatsoever is indicated by the doctor. For reducing pain, we have to provide the analgesics. Avoid opiates, because this will lead, which may mask a decrease in LOC. Alright. Then darken the room for photophobia if it is present. Then we have to elevate the bed of the head to decrease the ICP and to reduce the pain. Then promoting return to the optimal level of the function. Implement the rehabilitation intervention after admission, that is positioning. Provide a active exercise based on the patient neurological status. Expected outcome: enhanced cerebral tissue perfusion, reduced fever, fluid balance maintained, reduced pain will be reduced, optimal level of function is to be returned. What should be the prevention which we have to take care for the patient? Practice good hygiene, don't share utensils, get vaccinated, protection against the mosquito and the ticks, dress to protect yourself, apply mosquito repellent, use insecticide, avoid mosquitoes, get rid of water sources outside your home, look for other signs of the viral disease or sick or dying birds or animals. So in summary, we have discussed about the encephalitis, types and its cause, risk factors, pathophysiology, clinical manifestation, diagnostic evaluation, and management and its prevention. Alright, so in conclusion, encephalitis is known as inflammation of the brain, and it is caused by a viral infection, but the bacteria can cause it all as well. Patient may have some kind of flu symptoms as well. Alright. So the main assignment what I am giving to you is kindly write down the pathophysiology for the patient with encephalitis. This is your assignment. Thank you and have a nice day.